Welcome to today's conversation. We're talking about productisation and packaging today with Josh Butten from Boosst Financial. And he's made it very clear that I have to describe him as a financial planner, not a financial advisor, which maybe he'll tell us about in due course, and maybe part of the reason why he's doing so incredibly well in his space. You may be wondering why I'm talking to a financial planner. I'm checking my note to make sure I got that right now, because I'm dying to get it wrong. Why I'm talking to a financial planner? It's because Josh runs one of the most successful financial planning businesses in the UK, and has partially done that on the back of their ability to communicate really clearly what their services are and what their benefits of those services are. So, Josh, you just want to tell us a little bit about your business before we jump into the specifics around the packaging and so on?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are Boosst, spelt wrong, 2 O's, 2 S's, just because you can't get a domain these days for a real word. We're a long-standing business, but we recreated and rebranded ourselves about 3 or 4 years ago now. We are a family business. The shareholders are me and family members, but we are also a family, and we treat each other as team members, not as the uncle that turns up to the wedding, but as brothers and sisters, as a close-knit family who actually care and look out for each other. So that's a important thing for us. In terms of a bit of background, we were the financial planning firm of the year in 2020, which was quite cool. Obviously there was a lockdown, so we didn't get to go on a big stage and collect our glitzy trophy. It came in the post instead, but it was still quite cool. And we're probably best known for our office of all things. We built and we have a wonderful lakeside eco office, which you've sadly not been able to come to yet, but it is pretty cool. And it was actually shortlisted as the Green Building of the Year, which was quite surprising when we saw that the other projects were all mega offices in London and quite fancy things. So yeah, that's us. We look after about 350 families all across the UK with our individual clients, and we also work with about 23 companies where we provide financial planning coaching to all of their employees on a one-to-one, in-person, proper financial advisory planning basis.
Brilliant, thank you. And on a full disclosure basis, Josh looks after our financial planning, which is where we came across him. But there's some really interesting things already you've said there, which is you changed the name of the family business 3 or 4 years ago, and you've picked up an award already. We may get time to get onto the cultural things. There's some, if you get time, I'm talking now to you, dear viewer, rather than Josh, after this video, go and look these guys up. It's Boosst with a OOSS. That's right, isn't it? Yes, yeah. OOSS. Some really interesting stuff around, how I'm interested in culture, around business culture and the work they're doing there. But this name change, did that have an impact? Did that rebranding as Boosst make a difference? It was obviously part of a number of things you did, or has it been a sort of nice, gentle trajectory carrying on across those 4 years?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a really interesting journey, and you probably have to go back a lot further than that 4 years to get the full picture. But I've had to try and focus on the more recent side of it. Relaunching as Boosst, or boosting as we describe that moment in time, that moment where we became Boosst and had this sort of new name, and we had a new company structure as well because we'd changed some bits. But it was just, we described it as blank page, and we had a period of time where we were already working with lots of happy clients. We had a happy team. It was all running perfectly nicely, and we had about a year's notice to when we were becoming Boosst effectively and doing this exercise of rebranding. So we had a year of blank paper to say, well, everything that we currently do, is that the best way, or is there a better way? And lots of things were really, really good, and we kept them, and some things could be improved. And looking at each specific item, we researched what's available in the world in our sector, pick the best thing, and plug that in. So we built what we believed was basically the best financial planning business you could at the time. And now it's obviously just iterative and keeping ahead of the profession, really.
And that included changing software and changing processes and changing, like you say, organizational structure. It was wholesale change in the business in
Yes.
places.
Yeah, huge change. Our whole back office CRM system was changed. It was a proper refresh. It wasn't just a new label over the top.
Right. And we were recommended to you by our accountants, which is, as good a recommendation as you can get. But what struck me was the way that you understood, and I'm fairly experienced now in consuming services such as yours. And typically in the past, it's been someone who's gone, well, how much do you think you can save? This is the sort of pension that suits your risk profile. Send me checks once a month. Thanks a lot. And your service was not like that at all. We basically said, what pension are you going to stick this into? And you said, that's not the question. The question is, what kind of retirement do you want? Which was a little bit surprising. So can you just tell us about that? Because, apart from anything else, dear viewer, you may want to talk to Josh about pension provision, because they seriously take a different approach to it. But just tell us a little bit about how you approach that, because that is a little bit different.
Yeah, sure. We talk about it as the one question. So nobody comes to us and says, Josh, I'd love for you to build me a financial plan. I'm sure it will happen one day, but nobody has ever asked me that question. What we actually get asked is, I'm thinking about retirement and I've got all this stuff. Can you help me sort it out? Or I'd really like to help my kids buy a property, but I don't know if I've got enough money yet. If I give them that, how does that impact me? Or I want to fund my grandchildren's private education. Can I afford to? Or what's the most efficient way? So we get all these questions, but what people are really asking is, have I got enough? And it's that whole life cycle question of, have I got enough, or am I on track to have enough to do the things that I want to do? So we actually believe we have no right to get to know your pensions or invest your pension, because how would we know how to invest your pension if we don't know what it's for, when you're going to be accessing it, how much you're going to be taking? They all impact what you do now. So we want to get to know the detail and the depth behind it. We want to get to know you as people. I think I'm sure dear viewers won't mind hearing this, but I think you described our first call, which we described that as a discovery call, just getting to know each other. But I think you then described that to Beverly as our first date. And I think you were in the garden having a walk around.
I was,
on the phone.
I was.
We ended up being on the phone for about 45 minutes, just talking about things. And it's that personal nature, which is what we're aiming for. It's getting to know people as people, so that once we know you, funnily enough, having done 26 different exams and qualifications, once I know you, it's really easy to figure out what's the most tax efficient way, what products to use, how to invest it, because we've learned all that. But just applying it to different people is the interesting part. So we want to get to know the people and then apply the knowledge, rather than just come out and say, oh, like you said, how much have you got to save? What have you got at the moment? Let's talk about changing that. That's all secondary to, have I got enough? Am I on track? That's really the message.
Fantastic. And I know this discussion is, I'm billing this as productisation and packaging, and this is all part of that for me. This rebranding is part of the repackaging of this business, about thinking custom first. And this is the bit that really got me. So I talk to my clients about simple stories that are easy to buy. Just make them as simple as you can and make them easy to buy, remove the friction, and that's how you get clients most easily. And what you've done is you've produced effectively 3 products or 4 products, or packaged up your services under some names, which make the story simpler and make it easier to buy. So can you tell us what you've done, and then maybe why you did that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So if we were having a call and we were talking to you, and I said, we deliver a really comprehensive, lifestyle focused cash flow modeling service with wealth management, you'd probably go, huh? But I just want to know if I've got enough. So we don't call it that. And that is what most financial planning firms would describe what they do. We call it the full boost. And our interest is, how much of a boost do you actually need? Because we've got no interest in over servicing people. Equally, we've got no interest in not giving people enough service. So our services are very, very simple. We've got Boost Light, almost a passive come as you need us, but there's nothing active going on service. We then have a little boost. We then are just about to introduce a little more boost, because we've got some people that fit between the middle of these two, because we've then also got the full boost. And the full boost is our main service. That's what we deliver to most people. But this idea of building a full projection of all your life is impossible if you're successful but 27 years old running a business. If I ask you a complicated question like, how many children are you going to have? You won't be able to answer that. So I can't build you a financial plan if you can't tell me how many children you're going to have. So we won't bother trying to build one. We'll just have a little boost. And then we've built that whole service around what would somebody at that life stage need. So, and it's quite often the case that people, as they go through life, they can transition between these services. So people often start as a little boost in their 20s, 30s. As some of the uncertainties in their life, where they live, what they do, what they earn, who they live with, children, as those things become a bit clearer, then we can do more detailed planning, and they want some bigger questions answered. So move onwards to the full boost. Typically, we're providing that really detailed, comprehensive service for sort of 50s, 60s, up to and then into retirement. And that's where there's the most decision making to be done from a personal finance perspective, really. But then beyond that, again, we're not interested in over servicing people. If you have been retired for 10 years, you know that your everything's working as it should, your income's arriving from all the places it should, it's all efficient. You don't need to be going and looking at all this detail again. So you move back down to a little boost. So you kind of move up the scale as you need the service, and then back down as you go beyond needing that. So yeah, that's how we've done it, and it's just very nice, simple names, just to make it really friendly and everybody. If you're the full boost and the person that recommended you is a little boost, there's no confusion about who's getting what. Is there? It's pretty clear that one person's paying more for more service because they need more service, and the other person's got a lighter touch service.
So I think it's, as an exercise in packaging, I think it's fabulously simple in an industry that's notoriously opaque and that seeks to make things complex, because I think in the mistaken belief that you can continue to control more of the conversation. What you seem to have done is gone, people don't want that. They're more sophisticated buyers than they were. Let's just be really clear, because you don't haggle on your prices. There's no debate, is there? You have your fixed price menu on these things, which I won't ask you to share here because it lacks some context. But you don't haggle on this thing. You just go, if you want the full boost, it's a little bit elastic, but we'll give you that for this price, and that's what it costs. And if you want the smaller service or the lighter service, then you can have a little boost. I mean, the names are beautiful as well. We've got the full boost, a little boost, a little more boost, and Boost Light. I mean, Boost Light possibly is the one but it kind of, you understand what it's all about. I just think there's some fabulous lessons for everybody in that. It's this customer first, problem solving first, simple stories that are easy to buy, consistency, which means you don't then have to resort to opacity. You don't have to resort to discounting or complex pricing structures. You just simply have a very consumable service. To the point, and you've already mentioned it, but to the point that in 2020 you won the award. And was that, I'm assuming that award was some recognition of the disruption you're causing in the industry with this?
Yeah, it's partly that. So the award is actually for contribution to the financial planning sector over a 12-month period. So it's what are you doing, but it's also who are you. So if we run a what we call Bright to Boost development program, where we take bright people, be they graduates or career changers, and turn them into Boost team members. So doing that, obviously it's good for the profession because it brings people in and we're training and we're upskilling people. We've got all sorts of initiatives where we do educational things. Keith last year in lockdown, Keith is supposed to have 100 days holiday a year because he's semi-retired. He obviously couldn't do that in 2020. So he spent his weekends doing webinars for financial planners, teaching them what we do. Because financial is a bit of a strange profession, but there are not enough. I mean, there's less than 1,000 certified financial planners in the UK, of which 3 work at boosst. So there's not enough of us to be competitive with each other. So we're not exactly holding all our secrets close to our chest. There's no point. So helping other people, developing, and a bit of disruption and creating interesting ideas all goes towards that. And I think there's a lesson in that as well, because running a business, and this will be relevant for us, but also for your agency leaders, it has to be fun. We try to do things which are, yes, good for the business, but also fun. And a really good example, I appreciate that you couldn't travel all the way to come to it, but in October, I think it was, James Bond had just come out. We didn't really fancy going to the cinema ourselves, still a bit conscious about sort of social distancing and all that going on. So we just had this idea of, well, let's hire a whole cinema screen and do a private screening, and let's invite clients along and let's just fill it to 60% capacity so we're comfortable and everyone's comfortable. And all of a sudden, you've taken something which isn't that expensive to do. So it's not that expensive to hire out and do a private screening, but everybody wanted to see that film at the time. Everybody came together. We hosted it. We did a little speech beforehand, and had amazing feedback, and it was fun. So that sort of thing, you get a really good feel-good factor from it. The team are all there. The team are meeting clients. Clients are meeting each other. Lots of them have introduced them to us anyway, so a lot of them know each other. Just a really nice thing. So keeping business fun is a just as important lesson.
And another way of putting that, I think, is the integrity and the integrity and the authenticity. It's an overused word, but I think all of the packaging, all of the clever branding, or all of the kind of productization will fail if there isn't something fundamentally sound underneath it. And what you have is a fundamentally very sound business that outperforms many other people, that works really well with immense amounts of training, with very motivated staff in an award-winning hut by a lake. It's not a hut, is it? It's a lovely building, but it's
a hell of a hut.
It's a heck of a hut. But you know, that sort of fundamental strength in the service proposition is not that you're using packaging and productization to mask that or to kind of make up for the smoke and mirrors people used to talk about in advertising for a long time. The fundamental core product and proposition is still very strong. So the packaging is the final component that removes that friction I was talking about, I think. And it's really evident when people talk to you, that, and all of your team, you know, the level of training, the level of process you have is apparent, which I guess is, you know, has got to be deliberate as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And connecting a few of these ideas together. Obviously, you can't bring a big group of 100 or so of your clients together in a room if you haven't been delivering consistent service. If you've been negotiating on fees, and I mean, every single one of our clients pays the same, depending. So we don't have any clients that are on any form of discount at all, and we love that, and we never will have. But you can't have people that are you're on a mates rates discount if you're then going to bring them all in the room, because what if they talk about it and they find out that they're getting the same service but paying less? Yeah, you have to have that authenticity in terms of obviously treating people fairly and correctly and right, but also delivering a proper service, as you say, because if you're going to bring them together and do interesting things, I'm sure it would fall apart quite quickly.
And that integrity, just to point out something else, is to the point where I said to Josh, loads of people are going to be interested in talking to you. What does the commission look like? Half jokingly. And he said, we don't pay commission. We are purely referral. We, you know, if you think we're good, tell people about it. If you don't think we're good, then tell us. And I think that was, you know, it's all part of the same point. So I'm not going to labor it, but I think you can't package and productize your way out of a weak service but if the fundamentals are in place, it's the game changer potentially for your business. And I think it's there's just some lessons that we picked a few out from this, but I think just if you reflect on what Josh has been saying here, there are lots of things that should resonate and are worth considering. I think I'm pretty sure if people wanted to get more information from you about that, you'd be happy to talk to them, Josh.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, get in. Obviously, it doesn't have to be because you want to be a client that you get in touch. If you want to talk to us about how we package things, very, very keen. And well, the other thing I'd say is I think I've spoken to people in the past who are slightly scared of giving something a little boost. It's a overly simplified, bit cuddly. It's a bit overly friendly in what is a serious thing. We're talking about people's money and their livelihood. So, but it does work, and I think. Don't be afraid would be my message in terms of making something ultra approachable and ultra simple. It doesn't mean that it is simple under the bonnet. There's an awful lot that goes on. It's just a simple name. So don't confuse the two. But yeah, very happy to talk.
That's a really good point. Sorry to interrupt you there. And I think I've always been an advocate of giving things names. Give things names which make them. It makes it easier to remember. Even if people can't remember the specific details, if you give something a name, it makes it easier to. It's the background of all branding, of course, isn't it? So give it a name, and that name stands for a lot of other things and promises. So yeah, boosst OOSS is a as soon as I saw it, having 20 years in digital, I thought that's a guy that couldn't get the domain name he wanted, and probably it's true. But that's okay. I mean, the fact is you followed this thing through and driven it really hard. Yeah, if you want to know more about it, I'm sure Josh will, within reason, happily chat to you about it. If you do want your financial planning looked at, and I can't recommend them highly enough, I've got to say, and I'm not on commission, so take that at face value, then, give them a call as well. And obviously, if you want to talk to me about this stuff, it's Andy, etc. As you know, I'm always happy to talk about this kind of thing. It's a conversation I'm having with my clients all the time, but it's really relevant for right now. So we'll put all your details on the end of the screen, Josh. But thank you very much for sharing so openly. Really appreciate it.
No, you're very welcome. And obviously, I hope that's been helpful.
Been great.
Awesome.